Hi, everyone. This is Krista Moore with The Krista Moore Show, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. This is a new way to learn from industry experts and thought leaders as they share their success stories and growth ideas. The one thing about The Krista Moore Show is we can shake it up a little bit anytime we want to, and I'm excited to bring to you my next guest, and her name is Krista Moore. Imagine that. So I discovered the other Krista Moore not too long ago. Krista, are you there?
Yes, hello.
I just love it. So just a little bit of a backstory. It was December around Christmas time, and I think you're aware of this, but I was sitting in my sunroom. I was a little down. I had just had my second surgery on my nose, and I was a little bit on a sabbatical, kind of just doing some self-care, but I'm searching for like some inspiration. And I came across More Miracles, and it was Krista Moore. And I'm like, oh my gosh, same name, same spelling. But I remember discovering you years and years ago because I was looking to buy the URL, kristamore.com, and you already own that.
Yeah.
I was just, I immediately sent you a message. Hey, this is the other Krista Moore. So I wanted to let the audience know how we kind of connected in that way. And I'd love for you to do an introduction. Let them get to know who you are, and then we'll dive into a great conversation today.
Yeah, sure. Okay, Krista, thank you. I started off probably like a lot of you in the corporate world, did a business and all of that. And I had a lot of spiritual transformations, which I'll talk a little bit about today. And basically now what I do is I'm a channel, a healer, hypnotist, and spiritual director. And I help you connect and experience what I call the divine or the spiritual essence of yourself so that you can live a more miraculous life. And that is my calling, and helping you, helping others to experience and feel this radical shift in their lives so they can live life as if miracles are possible now, and they are. So this is the message for today, is to give you hope that these things are possible, and that my gifts are something that I love to share, but I also encourage people to learn how to do this themselves.
Yeah, that's great. So I actually hired you after I met you because I was so intrigued by your process and your talent and your gifts. And so we've had a number of different conversations over the months, which is another reason why I was anxious for people to meet you, because what you do is definitely unique. And it's also something that is more, I would say, it's inner, more spiritual. And so often we're busy with work and life and career, and we forget about our own personal journey and the spirituality around us. And I guess I want to give some motivation around that and some inspiration to others today on that, hey, they can live a more full life if they can get into a more deeper understanding of themselves.
Yes, exactly. And one thing I wanted to pick up on that you just said was that we all need that, men, women. I have found in my experience that people in business, people with very traditional jobs and responsibilities, mothers, they all experience this. When we get people together or one-on-one or in a group situation, you find these incredible miracles of people opening up their hearts, expressing from a deeper place, and actually seeing the possibilities of what their life could be, no matter what's happened in the past, that anything can be done now, no matter what age you are, what sex you are, it doesn't matter.
And I think it would be great for our audience if you can define, when I think of miracles, I think of the biblical times and miracles that we know of. Describe to our audience what you mean by current day miracles.
I believe that miracles are still possible, and I agree with you. Often when we think of miracles, we immediately think of the Bible or Jesus walking on water or feeding the 5,000 and all these amazing things, healing the sick and the dying. And that is not I am speaking about that, but I'm also speaking about what happens when we're moved by that inner spirit, which is the cause of all miracles, and what it can do in our lives. In other words, I see things like healing from depression or anxiety and having a hopeful, meaningful, and fulfilling life as a miracle. I also see people who, let's say, have difficulty in relationships or going through traumatic or difficult things in a relationship, and then having a spiritual perspective on it and healing the heart of pain and sorrow, and actually experiencing a healing around relationships and forgiveness. That is also a miracle, because anything that causes us to love more and to express our love more is a miracle. I also see miracles as unexpected gifts, things that happen in our life that we cannot explain, that we just know deep in our hearts we didn't make happen ourselves. They're surprising, often supernatural events that, like, let's say it's such a coincidence, it's such a big coincidence, you bump into this person you haven't seen in 20 years at the exact moment when you were thinking about either them or a topic that both of you share passion around, and you get this message from them, or you give them a message that was exactly what they needed to hear that day. Often, this is something also that I think Krista and I have talked about, is we often don't recognize miracles when they happen. Simple things that happen, like kindness and compassion, being there for someone who's in need, those things can be seen as miracles because they heal. Healing is not just physical. Healing is not just healing from disease. Healing is also emotional, mental, and spiritual. So the work that I do is to help heal you as a whole person, not just one layer. And that's what a miracle is to me.
And when I think of the term and the word miracle, I'm also thinking about just experiencing something that is not expected, but
Yeah.
it's in your favor and it changes your perception.
Mm-hmm.
And you really didn't have any control over it. It just kind of showed up. It just happened.
Yes.
Can you give me an example of a miracle in your life?
I remember at a time when I was at the tail end of my business career, and I had been promoted and things were going very well on the outside, but I was struggling on the inside, as I was saying before. And I had a deep spiritual practice. So I was praying. I had connected and was a deeply soulful person. I was praying for God to send me a miracle, that I didn't know how to get out of the situation. I just knew that I had to change my life radically or I was not going to make it. And that sounds outrageous, but I'm sure that anyone who has suffered from that level of depression would understand what I'm saying, that I needed a miracle because I couldn't think my way out of it. I couldn't plan my way out of it. A few months later, just a couple months later, someone appeared in my life at this work environment, and they were delivered to me just exactly as I asked. Someone that was going to help me with this project, help me get through this project, get it finished. And not only that, but this person was the new champion in my life that fed me these ideas that I could do anything I wanted. I wanted to go back into theater. I wanted to be an actress, a writer, all these crazy things. I was almost 30 years old. This person said to me, you can do anything you want, and he helped me do that. And he is my present husband. And we have actually done all of the things that we dreamed when we first met. I was an actress. I was able to be a TV film actress for quite some time and realize that dream. I wrote several small books, and I got my books out in published form in blogs and all over the place. And I feel like my whole life has become a miracle, and it continues to happen over and over. That's just my life. My clients' lives, I've seen people experience physical healing, immediate relief of pain that disappears after doing a session, gone. People that have had a chronic inner, let's say, despair, have been healed of that. I helped a client who was actually suicidal, and they found a purpose in their lives. They moved on. I've also worked with people who've experienced supernatural intervention. They've experienced or sensed angels coming in, or very benevolent forces coming in to help them and deliver exactly what they needed, exactly when they wanted. And it was always unexpected, because they didn't expect it to happen. They just thought, when we say, well, I wish this, I hope that, they didn't expect it. And that's why it's a miracle, because they were astonished when the exact thing that was spoken, when I was connected and channeling, I would speak certain things, call it prophetic, I guess, I'm not sure, but prophecy, where things came true exactly the way it was stated, even though I know nothing about the situation or the person. So there's so many things that can be surprising, as you said, unexpected. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. You were saying about this life change, this experience that you had where you met someone who I guess eventually became your husband, changed your life. It was through one particular instance.
Mm-hmm.
And if we all think back on our life's journey and we kind of mapped that, those things are happening, but maybe we're not aware of it, right? So what would you say to people that are skeptical or that maybe need to be more open-minded? Any thoughts on?
Such a great question. And in my experience, I welcome skeptics. I am a skeptic. I was a skeptic. I still continue to question. And it's good to question because you need to be discerning. You should never believe anything right up front. You should always question. It's a very healthy way to be. The only thing I would suggest for them, though, is to keep an open mind. So never to close the mind and say that's not possible. Just say, that's really unlikely. I wonder what that's about. Be open. The other thing is to begin to look at your life. Like I said, from a higher perspective, and one of the exercises that Krista was talking about with me was her timeline exercise, which is a beautiful thing, to look at your life from beginning and look at the instances that have happened. Ask yourself this question: could I really have done all of those things all by myself? Can I take credit for everything that's happened to me? And I know that you'll probably give credit to your mother or your father or people in your life, but has anything ever happened to you that you just can't explain, that just worked out so perfectly in your favor, and you kind of have this inner feeling of thank you? Have you ever said thank you, God, even if you weren't sure if you believed in God, because it was such a big thing for you and such a relief? So just keep an open mind and be open to the experience. The other thing I would say to a skeptic is don't judge until you have the experience. So be open. And I always invite people to come into group or come into session and have an experience and then decide how they feel about it.
So I have to share an experience. Okay. So I'm spiritual. A lot of friends and family that know me, understand that side of me. So when I met you, I was really intrigued with more deeply, on a deeper level, what it is that you do. Anyhow, the first time that we met, or maybe it was the second time that we met, we actually were in a session, and you were picking up on, like, because what you do is you were, I don't know, cleansing me or what, I'm not sure of the term that you use, but I had all this tension in my neck, because this is where I hold all of my tension, in my stomach or in my neck. Yeah. And I was like, really having a hard time. And I'm just going to say right now, I don't have that tension anymore. And it was so funny because you don't even remember what you were saying to me, but it had something to do with corporate, like I needed to let go of the corporate world, or
it was stuck in your neck. I think it was kind of a funny way of expressing the corporate world got stuck in your neck and you need to get it out.
I thought I'd left that, but it was still stuck in there. So I just think that was funny. But I don't know if I have fully told you that I really don't have that neck problem anymore. I don't know if you healed me, right? Or maybe it's just
not like, I can't even take credit for that. And I thank you for that, though. But I do feel like I call it the angels, but that they work through me and they heal people. I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't see through people and go, oh my, look at what you have. No, I don't know anything. And so I just flow. I just flow the energy. And that's the healing part of the practice. It's just what I call the physical level of the healing. And sometimes that happens where you just have this sudden relief. People feel that and they're like, oh my gosh, I feel so much lighter. And one woman, I can think of a woman that was in one of my groups. And I just came and just lightly, didn't know why, I'd never done it in my life. I came up to her and I asked permission. Is it okay if I just touch you here? She goes, mm-hmm. And I just went like that. And I kept going and I went on doing my thing. And after, she goes, I'll never believe it. She says, I didn't tell you this, but I was having heart pain before I came for the last few weeks. And I was about to go to the doctor the next day. And when you did that, I just felt this whoosh of relief, and it never came back. And I said, I
That's
hope you still went to the doctor. She goes, yeah, I did. And they checked me out. I'm fine. I said, oh, thank God. But she was amazed that she did not have that heart pain anymore. And I
tell me
thought that's a miracle for me.
that is a current day
Yeah,
miracle.
yeah.
Um, Tell me your a little bit more about your spiritual journey. And you said you got into acting and you did some television and you were, following some of those career dreams. And then
Yes.
you had another shift. And
Yes.
tell me
Okay.
about that. Mhm.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting because my first transition was more about what I wanted. So I wanted to experience acting, and a lot of the things that were part of my dreams came from childhood or came from my youth, and I was determined to make them happen. It was almost a willfulness, but confidence or wanting to experience. Well, then in 2008, things changed in the industry and it was going really poorly. But not only that, I was feeling this unrest that I wasn't enjoying my work as much as I had, and it wasn't fulfilling me. And I was asking yet again, God, please help me. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. What am I going to do now? And so I decided I was going on this trip to New York and Southampton to do a screenwriting course. And I just opened up and said, just please guide me, whatever I need to do. And on that course, I didn't even pay attention to the course because it had no meaning to me whatsoever. But I met some amazing people. And another person that became a friend was another messenger for me. And we connected over some things that I had been studying about spirituality. And all this stuff came out of me and it was amazing. And they were like, you should be teaching. You're like this amazing light. You need to go out there and help people. I got another message when I went on a trip to New Orleans. And funny enough, it was a $20 psychic. And he basically said, you're a healer. You need to help the people. And stop thinking about your own life and start helping people. That's what's going to make you happy. And I was like, whoa, okay. And so I totally started to change my world. I started my Evolutionary Woman groups to help women heal and connect together. Then I expanded into retreats, including men, and men came to my groups, men came to retreats. I started writing blogs, and I had audiences that were both male and female that would write to me and say, oh my gosh, that encouraged me so much today. Thank you so much. And I just felt like I had just won the lottery. My life, so amazing. And it still is like that. It just continues to grow.
One thing that I really want to talk about
Yeah.
is sometimes this subject seems, full of emotion and often feels a little woo-woo,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and thinking that it's more geared towards women. But there
Right.
are so many men that both you and I have helped in whether it's through coaching or whether it's through just having more heart-to-heart kind of conversations,
Yes.
because they were able to go a little bit more deeper than just being the stereotypical, I'm the provider, I've got to have this job because I'm told I'm supposed to, or whatever. I mean, and I wanted to hear what your thoughts were on the differences, if there are, in working with male versus female.
Yeah, and I feel that it's more like masculine energy in general. Like women also have that a little bit. Some people, let's say, are more practical and they need guidance. So a man may want to know more specifically, well, what can I do specifically to feel better? Or what are the tools I need to go forward? Women tend to connect more on emotion and they're more driven by connection, whereas men actually need tools and they need to feel that they can make a difference, that they can, provide, and they're going to care about whether or not they can pay the bills even more so, and women will too, of course, but men feel responsible. And so you have to address that need to feel responsible. So I do assist them in finding a little bit more practical tools. For example, a man may be more appeal more to the idea of meditation because it's something they can do by themselves, and they can breathe. They know how to do breathing. They can learn mindfulness, which is paying attention and being in the moment, and that can help them calm their nerves, help them be more present. Whereas with women, I would be more into the connecting, experiential things, though I have some male clients who have come to me and said that even though they're very practical, the experience they had in the light, is what I call the light, was more powerful than anything else they've ever done. And I'm not trying to toot my horn here at all. I'm really just trying to say that the spiritual energy is for everyone, not just for women. It's something that appeals both to men and to women.
Yeah, and I would imagine, well, you were talking about that masculine energy, and it's almost like there's really not a male or a female. It's really the energy that comes, or that you're sensing from that. I loved when you were talking about tools, because men are fixers, right? They want to fix it. Just give me the answers, tell me what I need to do, and I'm going to fix it. I'm going to do it. So I could see where tools comes into play. What I'm hearing from you is, you have this gift, and you are meant here on this earth to be a healer and to spread the word, so to speak, that there is a God, and there is a spirituality, and there are angels, and we need to be open to that because it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
But first, there's probably steps to go through to really connect with this inner self, so to speak.
Yes.
And I mean, I would imagine you have to, just be quiet and ask. And like you were talking about meditation, and I know you're a yoga instructor, and I know you're a spiritual director. So why don't we walk through maybe the 3 steps, so to speak, to help our audience not become as gifted as you are, perhaps, but maybe they can be.
Maybe they already are.
Maybe they already are. And like you said, we're not trying to sell your services to them, right? But how can we as individuals get into that quiet space and begin this finding kind of that inner true self?
Yes.
Yes. The first thing you would suggest?
I'm going to talk about the first thing, and I'll try to address both men and women here. So the first step for me in the process would be inner connection, or time alone. So connecting to self and connecting to the higher power, however you perceive that. How to do that for women, for men, just for yourself, there are many ways. Meditation is one way. Writing is another, for those that feel that having a pen in hand or in front of the computer, closing your eyes and just breathing and connecting and sharing your thoughts on paper. I find writing is better than on typewriter. Typewriter, you can see how old I am, but on a computer. And also prayer and reading inspirational material. So this may appeal also to men because it's practical. You can go on Amazon, you can do a search, you can find amazing books, inspirational material on living more authentically, transformational inspirational material from various authors. I can come up with a resource list, if that's needed, but it's important to do it from your heart. Like, what are you looking for? And just seek, put out the keywords. What am I looking for? And that hope and inspiration and miraculous stories, transformational stories of people healing, people moving forward in their lives, changing their lives. So listening also, like audiobooks. I used to go in the car when I had to go to work, and I would make sure that I was listening to something inspirational or inspirational music, something that's uplifting to the spirit, something that makes you feel happy or well or balanced or calm. I often use music in my groups and in my yoga sessions because that's what helps people to let go. It helps you to move from your thinking mind to your more peaceful mind. Hypnosis is an amazing tool. I took hypnosis because I was not a good meditator. So hypnosis is just learning how to relax in a guided way, using guided audios or guided meditations. And that's just listening to someone to help you get there. So I just act as a guide to guide you into relaxation. And this is such a powerful tool because some people will spend years trying to become really good meditators, where they can experience that in a 30-minute session with hypnosis or just doing self-hypnosis, learning. Look up guided meditations on the internet and self-hypnosis, and you can teach yourself how to become more connected. The most important thing for me, though, is having a spiritual relationship with God, an actual conversation, just talking to God, talking to the angels, talking whoever you identify with as your source. And that is where you develop this richness and this gift that feeds you in your life. And that's when you become more sensitive to miracles, more sensitive to information or helpful information that's going to lead you forward in your life.
Tell me what happens when you don't do this.
Well, I'm a perfect example. So when you don't do this, you may be successful in your life in terms of practical external things like status, money, all of those things, but you could be quite miserable, unhappy, depressed, and anxious because you're not fulfilling your inner self, your inner desire, your true heart. And that's where people can get chronically ill. They can have a lot of disruption in relationships, and just feeling generally unhappy. So
Yeah.
it's not a good idea to be disconnected from yourself.
Well, and listening to those physical ailments, so to speak. I remember when I was driving into work when I worked for corporate America, and for months I'd be driving in just with that pit in my stomach, and I should have listened to my inner voice before, waiting till my boss picked the wrong day, to tell me to shut up and sit down. But so something was off, something wasn't right, and I was busy. And I was busy being a mom. I was my father was ill at the time, and I wasn't taking care of myself. And I once heard someone say that listening to your heart is the best self-care.
Yes, that's exactly it. And that sums it up perfectly. It's listening to your heart, and whether you see your heart as something that's just you or it's connected to this bigger you, this bigger sense of meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
The heart is what leads you there. So
Well,
always listen to that.
and I can think of different times if I were to do my lifeline, and I think if other people on the line were, what were you doing and how were you feeling when you felt great opposed to when you didn't? What were some of those triggers? And then how did they feed into your kind of your life journey? And do more of that. Do more of what makes you happy, or do more of what gives you that sense of peace.
I call that like joy, a feeling
Yeah.
of joy. It's like when you're a child, and you talk about that in your work, which is great, and that's where we kind of combine and come together really nicely, is the joy is like a childlike joy. And when you're doing what you love, you feel joy. And when you're happy, you're a blessing to everyone else. And that's what we can give to others, which is really the second step in the process, is like connecting to others, like being connected to others is about love. It's about being from the heart, and the heart can't be a heart by itself. A heart has to be with other hearts. So the most important thing you can do on your journey, once you've connected with yourself, is connect with other people, and connect with people that you have something in common with, or some kind of passion that you share in groups or community, anything. You can create your own community, create your own group. I mean, that's what I think both of you and I have done that.
And I think, and the flip side of that is not connecting with people that I call them energy vampires, or that aren't there to serve you, or aren't there and aren't going to help and bring you joy as well.
Especially if you come from like a family where it's not supportive, or even it could be in your own like inner circle. So just go outside of your circle, and again, search for those words, things that connect you to your passion and what you care about, and you're going to start finding people that resonate with you.
Yeah, and we're doing a lot of studying today on the 10-year-old self, and going back to when you were 10, at that innocent age in which you and I talk about this a lot. I'm curious though, what were you doing when you were 10?
I was dancing and singing with my friend, Kim Jones, on a little show called Oopsie the Clown, believe it or not. And I was joyful. We had sparkly hats with our names on them. And I was also, going through some like ugly duckling syndrome stuff too, and trying to find my community or people that I loved, and learning through growing pains to connect with other girls, people that I could love and trust. And I found my little community, my little few friends that I loved. And going through different moves when I was a child was difficult. but finding those people to connect to really solved that for me, and I started to feel like I belonged. So I think my 10-year-old self was very hopeful and dreamy. I was a super dreamy kid,
Mhm.
and I had this sort of magical feeling about life. And I think I've always had that a little bit of fairy dust in me,
Mhm.
just wanting to bring the joy to people, bringing that spirit of playfulness, and that anything is possible. I think that that hasn't left me.
And that actually wraps it up nicely because if I recall, the third step is to serve, is to
Right.
take that talent or that gift, that God-given gift, and give it to others. So there's that inner work, and then there's that connection
Yeah.
to other
Support
people
staff.
and to God
Yeah.
or to a higher source. And then it's okay, you've got to serve and
Yeah.
do something with that. And how would you explain that to our
I
group?
would explain it as, first we start with, we seek miracles, we seek connection, we seek all these things, and then we start to realize that we are the miracle, and I need to give that miracle to others. And I used to say the miracle is you. So that just means give it out. Be that beautiful self. Be that shining, radiant person that you are. Trust in the gifts that you've been given, and don't let them be dulled by other people that say you can't or that you shouldn't. And trust that there is something inside of you from your heart that you want to give to others, and just start now. That's
Yeah,
really
and
it. Start
that's the
now.
key, right? The start
Yeah.
now.
Start now.
Make
Yeah.
it
Don't wait. It's
happen.
never too late. Just start now.
Yeah, and it really is about change and changing habits too, if you're not used to that, for
Yes.
sure.
Be
Hmm.
willing and have courage, because it takes courage to live a life of miracles. It takes courage to experience those things. We have to be willing to come out of our comfort zone. We have to be willing to open our eyes and have new experiences. And that's where just even traveling and doing different kinds of things will open you to these experiences.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I wanted to make sure it was okay that we shared some contact information if anybody does want to reach out to you. Also, how to access your podcast, and you have yoga retreats. We have that in common, and any way that they can get a hold of you.
Okay, perfect. Yes, you can go right ahead. Yes, at moremiracles.com. And yes, I'm going to Spain in a month, so I'm excited about that. That's a yoga retreat. And if you just check on the website, I always have the current events and the things. And the podcast is available on the More Miracles as well, so you can listen to different episodes.
Yeah, and I would recommend listening to the More Miracles podcast because you'll actually experience
Yes,
more so what we're talking about.
experiential. Yes.
Yeah, it's very, very cool stuff. Thank you so much, Krista Moore. I love seeing our names up there, and it's not a typo.
Oh, thank you, Krista Moore.
Thank you. I'll be calling you.
All right, thank
Talk
you.
soon. Bye-bye. Yeah, no, when I met Krista Moore, I fell in love with her, and we've become good friends since. So I wanted you all to meet her. And also to let you know that next week we're going to continue down this path of taking care of ourselves. And I know in a busy world, we can get busy, 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 but sometimes we need to take a break and stop and pause and do some self-reflection. And we're going to talk further with Renee Manning on that subject next week. So hope you can join us then. Until then, at K Coaching, we care about you and we care about your success. Take care.